Hello, good evening and welcome to Primetime News.
10 years ago, the grief and the agony of those who survived the worst ever natural disaster Sri Lanka has faced echoed throughout Sri Lanka.
That's right, tens of thousands lost their lives while some remain missing to this day. Tonight we start the news by dedicating a silent prayer to those who lost their lives and those who lost loved ones. Later on in the news, we will take a look at how Sri Lanka is coping 10 years later.
Also tonight, a deputy minister, a wanted man, managed to slip out of the country under the noses of security personnel at the Katunayaka airport. We have a comprehensive report. First, the headlines.
Badula district battered by extreme weather, 10 lives lost. Landslide warning issued for 11 districts. Sri Lanka and her neighbours mark 10 years since the devastating tsunami. Keep away from political activities and work to provide relief for the people, a request from the President. Maithripala Sirisena calls for his campaign donations to be provided as relief instead. Venerable Vatraka Vijithatheva requests that the 2015 presidential election be postponed. Deputy Minister Nishantha Muthuhettigama leaves for Singapore in secret in spite of a warrant being issued for his arrest.
Before we get into those stories in detail, severe weather wreaked havoc in Sri Lanka today. 10 lives were lost while thousands have been displaced. A landslide warning is still in effect in 11 districts. We have a comprehensive report on the persisting extreme weather situation coming up on the bulletin.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa says that he will not allow those who left the party to re-enter. He made this statement at a public rally held in Matale today.
The 15th public rally organized by the UPFA ahead of the presidential election was held in Matale this evening.
Even before I make the budget, I consulted with you. When we do this, there are some who try to say that we are dictators. There are no munafiks here, are there? No, they are in manner. There are only one or two of them. There aren't many. By the gods, isn't a person who gets ministerial portfolios here and does everything and then goes over to the other side the next morning a munafik? I will not take back any of those who left. Every day there are false rumours. They said Janaka was going, but he did not. They said Nandi Mitra was going, but he did not. But Janaka, you must know, we have a door which you can both pull and push. But I can say with certainty that our people will not betray us.
The presidential candidate of the New Democratic Front, Maithripala Sirisena, says that the law is not being enforced in crimes committed by politicians. He made this statement at a public rally held in Horona.
Political instability has already been created in this country. This was done by the people in his family. Parliament was silenced. Parliament was taken into the hands of a single family and silenced. The constitutionally established cabinet of ministers was silenced completely. There are several parties which work to bring this government into power. All these party leaders have had their mouths sewn shut. They have been silenced, and now the law is not being enforced in any crime committed by government politicos. There is no charge sheet. There has been no punishment to date.
A memorial event was held in Modera, Colombo today to commemorate the tsunami disaster that claimed hundreds of thousands of lives 10 years ago. The event was held with the participation of the presidential candidate of the New Democratic Front, Maithripala Sirisena.
The ceremony was organized by the assistant leader of the UNP, Ravi Karnanayaka. Subsequent to religious observances, the gathering observed a minute of silence in remembrance of those who lost their lives. Gifts were presented to children who were left orphaned due to the tsunami disaster.
අපිට මතකයි මීට වසර 10කට පෙර එදා දවස මුළු ජාතියම
10 years ago, we remember that it was on a day like this that tears were shed by the entire nation. You and I know of the massive loss of life that was recorded in our history. Even today, there are many places with families who still face numerous issues due to this tragic incident. We would like to say that through a new government, we will create a country that will be able to face such natural disasters. Furthermore, we will take measures to restructure the lives of the people in a manner that will not lead to inconveniences, as per advice sought from scientists who are specialists in natural disasters.
විශේෂඥාන්සෝලින් දෙන උපදෙස් අනුව ජනතාවට අපහසුතාවයක් නොවන විදිහට ඔවුන්ගේ ජන ජීවිතය සකස් කර ගැනීම පිළිබඳවත් රජයක් විදිහට ඉතාම වගකීමකින් අපි කටයුතු කරන බව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න ඕනේ.
එදා ලෝකෙ හැමතැනම මගේ නමට චෙක් පත් එවන්න පටන් ගත්තා පුද්ගලයෝ.
During that time, there were many people from around the world who sent me checks under my name. We were able to collect around 30 million rupees. This is apart from donations received by the government. We put all of this in a bank account and started issuing the donations slowly. Then we opened another special bank account and we sent all of these checks from the presidential office to this account. A year later, after having stepped down from my post and going into retirement, there was 20 million remaining. After I left, they did not even include this in the budget. A fraud took place where donations were collected by foreign donors under Helping Hambantota, and only 1 or 2 persons ended up pocketing all these funds. The then Chief Justice gave a verdict that there was no wrong in this. Then they said I was wrong for taking action against such a decision and turned the case against me. I would like to clearly state to this former Chief Justice that he gave a false verdict stating that I was the one who did wrong. This clearly shows the independence of our judiciary.
අද එයා විනිශ්චයකාරයා හිටපු එක්කෙනා කියනවා මම වැරද්දක් කෙරුවා වැරදි තීන්දුවක් දුන්නේ කියලා. අපේ අධිකරණයේ ස්වාධීනත්වය මෙතනින් මනාව පැහැදිලි වෙනවා.
මේ අවුරුදු 10කට පස්සේ සැබෑ ආර්ථික සුනාමියක්.
After 10 years, what we have is a tsunami economy. By next year, my hope would be that we would be able to restore the lives which were devastated by this tragedy, and I wish to thank all of you who are present here.
අද බොහොම කෙටි දැන්වීමකින් මෙතනට පැමිණ තිබෙන
A day much like today, the morning of the 26th of December 2004, a moment that is forever etched in the hearts of all people.
Indonesia, the world's largest archipelago located on the boundary of the Indian and the Pacific Oceans, the world's largest Muslim nation. The Phi Phi Islands in Thailand, a tourist hotspot. The numerous restaurants, cafes and hotels on these resort islands were filled with tourists celebrating Christmas Day. (2,300 kilometers to the west of Thailand lies Sri Lanka, where the sun rose on the 26th of December 2004, the Unduva full moon Poya Day. The day was filled with a calm that is unique to most Poya days in this country. The people went about their day-to-day lives. At 6:58 a.m., a major geological event took place unbeknownst to those on the surface on land. The distance from the epicenter of the unprecedented earthquake which triggered the mighty waves to Sri Lanka is more than 1,600 kilometers. While Sri Lanka did not feel the quake initially, the coast of the Pearl of the Indian Ocean was its usual idyllic self. 7:28 a.m. 30 minutes after the initial quake, the northernmost tip of Indonesia is reduced to a barren wasteland. And then, the idyllic coast of northern, eastern and southern Sri Lanka turned into a wall of terror, bringing with it death and destruction. In a few short minutes, the entire coastal belt stretching from Jaffna to Mullaitivu, Trincomalee, Patikalo, Ampara, Hambantota, Matara, Galle and Kalutara was changed forever. It was a catastrophe on a scale that could not have been imagined in even the worst nightmares. The mighty sea waged war on the land, tossing around our constructs as if they were made of paper mache. The waves in Hikkadua caused the worst railway disaster to date in Paralia. Buses at the Galle depot were replaced with boats carried in by the waves. Thousands either perished or went missing and remain unaccounted for to this day as the receding waves dragged them out to sea.
Now, memorial events were held across the country today to commemorate those who lost their lives in the 2004 tsunami. We have more on that coming up later in the bulletin.
Believe that she may be still alive.
The Disaster Management Centre says that it has taken steps to evacuate people from areas that have been identified as being at a very high risk of landslides. Meanwhile, heavy downpours continued across many parts of the island today due to the low pressure system that has developed around Sri Lanka. Landslides and falling earth embankments have claimed 10 lives in the Badulla district alone. Landslide warnings are in effect for 11 districts, while Badulla has been the worst affected. Meanwhile, a warning has been issued by the National Building and Research Organisation. The NBRO has asked the people living in areas that have been identified as being highly vulnerable to landslides in the districts of Matale and Kandy to evacuate with immediate effect.
5 homes were buried in a landslide that occurred in Madagama, Rilpola in Badulla. Police say that several residents are missing. As of this evening, 4 bodies had been recovered from the rubble. 2 mobile phones have been heard ringing from within the rubble. Rescue teams used backhoes to speed up the effort. However, the heavy mist and continuing rain has disrupted the rescue effort.
The extreme weather has also affected several other parts of the island.
2 people were killed when an earth embankment collapsed on a house near the S-bend in Hangoda, Badulla. The deceased were identified as 53-year-old R.M. Dharmapala and 63-year-old V. Christopher. A mother and a son were killed when an earth embankment collapsed on a house in Galkanda, Badulla last night. Our reporter says that transportation has been hampered on the Badulla Mahiyangania, Bandarawala and Valimada roads as a result of cut failures and rock slides. Two people sustained minor injuries when an earth embankment collapsed on a house in Gaminipura, Hatton early this morning. A large tree fell across the Kandy Colombo railway line near the Yatinura depot, causing train services to terminate at Ramukkana. The Peradeniya Galaha road was blocked after a large tree near Ramanathan Hall at the Peradeniya University fell across the road. A man stranded by floodwaters at a home in Giragama, Pilimatalava, employed ropes to escape. Several homes in Diabubula near Rikillagaskada town have sunk by several feet. The Mahiyangania Kandy Rajamawata was also blocked at several locations by fallen earth embankments. An earth embankment also collapsed on the Bingia in Haloluwa, Kandy, completely burying the structure. Our reporter says efforts are underway to remove the soil. Our camera captured this footage in Alla Bandaravela.
Meanwhile, severe flooding has brought day-to-day life to a standstill in other parts of the island. Over 650,000 people have been affected island-wide.
Floods hampered transportation on the Anuradhapura-Bandanayakagama road. 233 people from 67 affected families are being sheltered at the Anuradhapura Public Sports Ground. About 350 people who were displaced when the Malwatu Oya broke its banks have sought refuge at the Tissa Mahavidyalaya in Shravastipura. Floodwaters are yet to recede in the sacred grounds and in Mihindupura. The Polonnaruwa Batiklo Road was inundated at the Bothal Deka Junction. Sector Commander East Major General Lal Pereira says that soldiers have been deployed to assist the affected populace.
2,000 to 3,000 troops of the army have been deployed to the Polonnaruwa district. We have even used the training schools for this. We have deployed the troops to the Ampara, Batiklo and Trincomalee districts as well. We are ready to protect these villages.
Transportation on the Kurunagala-Matale road was brought to a standstill when the Kadupilagolla bridge in Dodam-Gaslanda was washed away. Our correspondent says the Kapatigala-Kurunagala main road is also blocked while the road has been damaged near Ahimansala in Dadaru Oya. A poultry farm in the area was also submerged. Water release from the Dadaru Oya continues to inundate several villages in Chilau. Transportation along the Tissamatra road in Hambantota too has been affected. Our correspondent says the Mahiyangania town has been inundated while the access road from Bibila to Mahiyangania has been blocked.
The spill gates of several reservoirs, including the Rajarata reservoirs, have been opened, while our reporters say that water is flowing over the bunds of some reservoirs in spite of the spill gates being opened.
The Nalanda reservoir in Matale is overflowing for the first time in 27 years. Although the spill gates of the reservoir have been opened, water continues to flow over the dam. Incidentally, this was the first reservoir in Sri Lanka to have a concrete wall.
Newsfirst apa me randi sirinne Naula Pradeshe Piti Nalanda Jalase.
The Newsfirst team is currently on the dike of the Nalanda reservoir in Naula. What you can see over here is water flowing over the spill gates of the Nalanda reservoir. What is most significant is that it is after a period of 27 years that the Nalanda reservoir has experienced such a situation. The spill gates have not even been opened. Water is flowing 4 feet above the spill gates of the reservoir. The water that is flowing from here directly meets the Bovathanna reservoir.
Newsfirst වෙනුවෙන් මම මංජුල ප්‍රේමරත්න නාලන්දා ජලාශයේ සිට.
Water released from the Nalanda reservoir makes its way to the Bovathanna reservoir.
වර්ෂාපතන සමග මේ වෙනකොට බෝවතන ජලාශයේ සියලුම වාන්දුවට විවෘත කර ඇති ආකාරයක් ඔබට දැක ගන්න පුළුවන්.
With the heavy rainfall, we can witness the manner in which the spill gates of the Bovathanna reservoir have been opened. With the opening of the spill gates, all the water flows directly to the lower area of the Amban river. That area is currently experiencing severe flooding.
මම Newsfirst වෙනුවෙන් ප්‍රදීප් ගුණවර්ධන බෝවතන ජලාශයේ වේල්ල මත සිට.
The spill gates of the Bovathanna reservoir have been opened by up to 6 feet.
Heavy rains experienced yesterday attributed to the rapid rise in water levels. 6 spill gates opened by 6 feet each. The water levels are just a meter away from the maximum level. Because of the rapid rise in water levels as a result of the heavy rains, we are maintaining the levels at below 1 meter.
The water released from the Bovatana reservoir into the Amban River has inundated many surrounding villages and roads. The spill gates of the Parakama Samudra, Minneria and Giritale reservoirs in Polonnaruwa have also been opened. The railway line is now the only ground transportation link between the Batiklo and Polonnaruwa districts. 8 spill gates of the Daduru Oya reservoir have now been opened as the water level continues to rise. 4 spill gates of the Lunugambehera reservoir have been opened, increasing the water levels of the Yodavawa, which is located downriver. Several surrounding villages were inundated when the Yodavawa began to overflow.
Meanwhile, the director of the Department of Meteorology, S.R. Jayasekara, had this to say on the current weather situation.
If you
look at the weather condition, the rains began on the 18th of this month. There was a turbulence recorded in the wind direction, which is called the B easterly wave. This is unnatural, and heavy rains in the month of December is unnatural. There is an increase in rains. Because this condition is still prevalent across the island, the tendency to rain is very high. If we look at the winds, we can see that there is a circulation of winds over the island.
The Capital Maharaja Organisation, together with John Keel's Holdings, has launched the Sahana Yatra Relief Programme once again in order to provide aid for those affected by the persisting extreme weather conditions in many parts of the island.
The Capital Maharaja Sangvidhaniya Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra ආරම්භ කළේ මීට
The Capital Maharaja Organisation Limited initiated the Sahana Yatra program 10 years ago. On several occasions, we have undertaken the Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatras to provide relief to the people who have been affected by various disaster situations. 10 years later, we are undertaking the Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra once again. Several months ago, we undertook a Sirasa Shakti Sahana Yatra to provide relief to drought-stricken communities in Ampara, Polonnaruwa and Monaragala. Only a few months later, the Sahana Yatra set off again, carrying much-needed aid to people who have been affected by landslides in Haldalmulla, Badulla and Nuwara Eliya. Today, we have been made to undertake a Sahana Yatra once again in the face of an entirely different disaster situation. While people throughout Sri Lanka have been affected by the extreme weather conditions being experienced in the country at present, our hope through this Sahana Yatra is to provide relief to all of them. As the Capital Maharaja Organisation, which has always fulfilled its promises and responsibilities, prepares for this massive undertaking, John Keel's Holdings PLC has joined hands with us in this task. We are especially thankful to John Keel's Holdings PLC for coming forward at this time, in spite of the fact that they are not a media institution. The Sahana Yatra will be implemented in 3 phases. In the first phase, the 2 organizations together will take the necessary relief items to the people. We are not expecting to collect donations from the general public. After the first phase is completed, we will look into the other needs of the affected populace and take steps to provide any more relief that they may require.
අප බාණ්ඩ එක්රැස් කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ පළවන අදියරේ බාණ්ඩ බෙදා දීමෙන් අනතුරුව අප බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා යලිත් මේ ජනතාවට බාණ්ඩ අවශ්‍යද යන්න සොයා බලා දෙවන අදියර ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම සඳහා.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa has appointed a committee under the Secretary to the President, Lalit Weeratunga, to coordinate and expedite the relief effort. The President's media unit says the Chief of Defence Staff and the commanders of the armed forces are the other members of this committee. The statement issued by the President's media unit also reads that the President has instructed the Treasury to immediately disburse the funds required for the relief effort. The President has also called on all political representatives, ministers and MPs from the affected districts to cease all political activities and take steps to provide relief to the people. The statement reads further that the President is making constant inquiries into the programs initiated by the government to provide relief to the affected populace.
New Democratic Front presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena has issued a public letter calling for all campaign donations that were to be made for his presidential campaign to be given instead as relief to people affected by the extreme weather conditions. Expressing his sympathy to the thousands of people who have been affected, Sirisena writes that it is his belief that in such a disaster situation, providing relief to the affected people is a national priority.
Maithripala Sirisena also appeals to all social service organisations to join in the relief effort. While noting that all social service organisations, various groups and the citizenry are prepared to help their countrymen in their time of need, Sirisena writes that he praises them for this. In the letter he says that he is praying that the extreme weather will cease soon and that the problematic situation that has arisen will be mitigated soon.
A monk who is a UPFA Pradeshya Sabha member has called for the immediate postponement of the presidential election. The request was made by UPFA Mahiyangane Pradeshya Sabha member, the Venerable Wataraka Vijitathera.
Venerable Watareka Vijitathera visited the election secretariat in Rajagiriya this morning and requested that the presidential poll be postponed, taking into consideration the current disaster situation.
දරුණු ආපදා තත්ත්වය මත මේ ජනාධිපතිවරණය කොහෙත්ම මේ රටේ
Given the severe disaster situation, a presidential election cannot be held in this country at present. If such an election is held, then we will not see a clear mandate from the people. This is because more than 1 million people have been affected and hundreds of thousands have lost their identification cards and other documents, while hundreds of thousands of acres of paddy fields have been destroyed. At the same time, landslides are occurring in several other districts. Roads are closed. Transportation has come to a standstill. Trees have been felled. Therefore, we call on the Elections Commissioner to kindly postpone the 2015 presidential election for the clear reason that a clear public mandate cannot be obtained.
මේ ජනාධිපතිවරණය වහාම කල්තබන්න හේතුව පැහැදිලි ජනමතයක් දකින්න වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
A group of representatives of the United National Party, Democratic Party and Tamil National Alliance pledged support to President Mahinda Rajapaksa today. They announced their support at a media briefing held at the SLFP headquarters today.
Democratic Party Western Provincial Councillor Rajitha Hapuarachi pledged his support to President Mahinda Rajapaksa today. 5 TNA members and 1 UNP member of the Vaunia South Pradesh Sabha also pledged their support to President Mahinda Rajapaksa today.
Where is the dividing line for good governance? Where is the dividing line for justice, fairness and the law? I wish to ask the clergy, the political parties, the civil organizations and everyone else who is allegedly struggling for good governances to point out where they believe there is a problem with good governance, justice, fairness and the law. Where is the dividing line?
Still in the political front, speaking at a public rally to muster support for presidential candidate Maithripala Sirisena, UNP parliamentarian Suji Senasinghe had this to say.
If the poor person's income was raised to 60,000 to 75,000 rupees and if the police officer's income was increased to 45,000 rupees and if a three-wheel industry was introduced to Gampaha, it would be as if the motorcycle industry of India was brought here. Lands all over the country have been looted. I came to Gampaha and asked if there is a pineapple cultivation. They said it was the Rajapaksas. I asked about the coconut plantations too. They said it was the Rajapaksas.
Deputy Minister Nishantha Muthuhettigama left the island early this morning. A warrant had been issued for his arrest for alleged involvement in the arson attack on a stage erected for a campaign rally of Maithripala Sirisena in Vaduraba, Galle.
Deputy Minister Nishantha Muthuhettigama left the island from the Katunayake International Airport amid the heightened security and police presence. Police media spokesperson SSP Adithrona says authorities were unable to arrest him as he departed through the VIP terminal.
When inquiries were made, it was revealed that he had left through the VIP terminal. Nevertheless, we are hoping to arrest him immediately upon his return to the island. The Inspector General of Police has issued the necessary instructions to all units. He had arrived at the terminal a few minutes before the flight took off. We will also be looking into whether a call was made on the 119 hotline and what action was taken thereafter.
කෙසේ වෙතත් අපි අනිවාර්යෙන්ම මේ 119 මධ්‍යස්ථානයේ මෙවැනි දැනුම් දීමක් කරලා තියෙනවද? ඒ දැනුම් දීමට ගත්ත ක්‍රියාමාර්ග මොනවද කියන එක පිළිබඳව විශේෂ විමර්ශනයක් කිරීමට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
On the 24th of this month, the Baddegama Chief Magistrate issued an order on the Inspector General of Police for Deputy Minister Nishantha Muthuhettigama to be arrested and produced in court on charges of abducting 3 suspects who were in the custody of the Vanduraba police. Even when this case was being heard in court, Muthuhettigama was seen on the road across the court complex. Meanwhile, in the political arena, views were expressed at several events regarding Muthu Hettigama and the Wanduraba incident.
There is a separate path for MPs leaving the country, and there is always someone from the police there. But today, the police media spokesperson says there was no one from the police there and that no one identified the minister, and therefore this man was able to leave the country. This shows how the law is enforced in the country today.
A warrant is not necessary to arrest the defendant. The investigating officers have the authority and the power to do this. Now the court has issued a warrant and the warrant has been discarded. Nishantha Muthu Hettigama goes on the concert stage and sings. While he is singing, the police are providing him with security. After he sings and gets into the vehicle to go home, the police go there and salute him. What is the meaning of this nonsense? The media spokesperson, SSP Ajit Rohana, is related. If it were a man who does not know the law that is speaking this way, it would be all right. He is saying that he was not arrested because he left from the VIP terminal. I wish to ask SSP Ajit Rohana, in which country can you not arrest someone just because they go through the VIP terminal? Which section of which law in this country says so?
වඳුරුම මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන මැතිතුමාගේ රැස්වීමට ගැහුවා.
They attacked Maitripala Sirisena's rally in Wanduraba. The suspects were caught. After they were caught, he had come there, forcibly opened the iron-barred holding cell and set the suspects free. Then the OIC said that he cannot continue in the police service and that he was resigning. What did the court do then? The court issued a warrant for the arrest of Muthu Hettigama. When the deputy minister, a wanted man, leaves through a VIP section of the airport, why is his government silent? It is the duty of the government to enforce the law, uphold justice and ensure fairness. Orders must be issued to the police and the security forces, and justice must be served.
අදාළ පොලිසියට ආරක්ෂක අංශවලට නියපිත නියෝග ලබා දීලා සාධාරණත්වය ඉෂ්ට කරන්නට.
Now, following the 2004 tsunami, following the devastation that was caused by the 2004 tsunami, authorities here in Sri Lanka declared the 26th of December as National Safety Day. Now, the state event to mark National Safety Day was held today in Hambantota.
The national event to mark National Safety Day, declared on the 26th of December post-tsunami, was held under the theme A Safe Sri Lanka at the Ruhunumagampura International Conference Centre. The event was held under the auspices of Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa with the participation of Disaster Management Minister Mahinda Amaravira. 2 minutes of silence were observed between 9:25 and 9:27 a.m., the time when the first wave struck Sri Lanka. Subsequently, saving account books were presented to children who were orphaned by this year's landslide in Miriyabada by Speaker Chamal Rajapaksa. Volunteers who saved lives during the national disaster were also recognized at the event.
In every camp of the tri-forces, there are a minimum of 25 persons who are ready to carry out rescue operations in times of natural disasters. Furthermore, officials from all government institutions are ready to provide relief and to save lives in times of distress. I visited the Senapura area in Hambantota. There is no place for the water to recede. Every day when an incident like this occurs, we have to dig a drain temporarily, otherwise houses will remain inundated for 3 to 4 days. We can provide a permanent solution, not only during times of tsunamis or landslides or any other natural disasters. As humans, we have to intervene to assist them by going beyond our intervention. The Ministry of Disaster Management has taken measures to create awareness with the assistance of other countries.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa too commemorated the lives lost in the Boxing Day tsunami. A memorial event was held at the presidential residence this morning under the auspices of President Rajapaksa. Another memorial event was held at the site of the railway disaster in Paralia, Hikkadwa. Families of the departed paid floral tributes at the memorial. A memorial event was also held at the graveyard in Kurunduwatta, Akmimana, where the bodies of more than 1,000 unidentified people who were brought to the Karapita Teaching Hospital were laid to rest.
We tend to think of trains and railways as solid, tough objects.
Now, when the Indian Ocean tsunami's killer waves started rolling in without warning, the coastal residents of Thelwatta and Paralia in southern Sri Lanka thought a passing train offered them relative safety. However, sadly, they were mistaken.
Newsfirst.lk Farzan reports on the 10th anniversary of the Asian tsunami that claimed the lives of many.
A new day, a new beginning. The train prepares to embark on a journey that will make history. Travelling once again to the very place where the train's many tons of steel were no match for the enormous seismic energy that the sea waves were transmitting that day, 10 years ago. Boxing Day 2004. The Queen of the Sea was nearing its destination when the waves knocked it sideways. That was when the unexpected happened and claimed the lives of many on board. Boxing Day 2014. Like any other day, the Samudra Devi train, also known as the Queen of the Ocean, was filled with commuters heading to their destinations. However, on that day, the fate of many changed forever. 10 years after one of the world's devastating train disasters took place, survivors of that tragedy visit the very location where their lives changed forever. Today, survivors revisit the very place where they cheated death.
ගියේ මේ පැත්තෙමයි මට ඉතින් හරි හදවතට ලොකු ගැස්මක් වගේ තියෙනවා. එදත් ඒ වගේම තමයි අවුරුදු 10ක අතීතය මට මතක් වෙනවා.
Train guard Vanigaratna Kavanathilakar's life too was changed on that day.
2004 12 මාසේ 26 වෙනිදා මේ දුම්රිය වැඩ කරා. අදත් අවුරුදු 10කට පස්සේ අදත් මේ දුම්රිය වැඩ කරන්න මට සිද්ධ වුණා. මම එදා මේ දුම්රිය එදා වැඩ කරපු එකට අර්ථ වශයෙන් මම එදා කනගාටු වෙනවා. අද මේ දුම්රියත් වැඩ කරන අවුරුදු 10කට පස්සෙත් මේ දුම්රිය වැඩ කරන්න මම වාසනා කළ දිනයක් කියලා මම නිසා ඒකට සන්තෝෂ වෙනවා. මොකද මේ අවස්ථාවේදී එදා ජීවිතක්ෂයට පත්වෙච්ච සියලු ආගම් වලට අයිති සියලු ජාතීන් වලට අයිති මේ මගීන් සිහි කරන්න මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවක් උදා කර දීම ගැන තමයි මම සන්තෝෂ වෙන්නේ.
The memorial event today was somewhat different to the previous years, with a multi-religious memorial service taking place at the location of the tragedy.
එතෙන්දී ජාති කුල මල වේදන එකට මේ බින්දා එතෙන්දී හොඳටම පේනවා මනුස්ස විතර වේදන මේ වැඩගත් වෙන්නේ මනුස්සකමයි වැඩගත් වෙන්නේ. ඒක තමයි මේ මනුස්සකම තුළින් තමයි මුළු ගමේම මනුස්සකම තමයි මේ අපි පෙන්නන්නේ.
எங்கட பல உயிர்கள் இதுல போயிட்டாங்க சுனாமில போயிருக்கிறாங்க. நீ அந்த காரணத்தினால எங்கட உள்ளத்துல வந்துருச்சு இந்த இடத்துல வந்து கலந்து எல்லா மத மக்களோடையும் சேர்ந்து நாங்களும் எங்கட மதத்தால என்னென்ன அவங்களுக்கு பிரார்த்தனை செய்யணுமோ அதை செய்யறதுக்கு எல்லாருக்கும் உதிப்பு வந்து இன்றைக்கு வெள்ளிக்கிழமை ஜும்மாவுடைய நாள் இருந்தும் எல்லாரும் ஒத்துழைப்பட வந்து இதை கலந்து கொண்டாங்க.
Some survivors continue to search for their loved ones.
දුවව හොයනවා මහත්තයා නැති වුණා. දුවව එද පැරෑලේදී මේම අතට අරන් ෆැමිලි එකකට දීලා තිනවා පැරෑලේ පන්සලේදී. දාලා බිම දාලා බලා ගන්න කියලා ගිහින් තිනවා අනිත් අය ගේන්න. ඒතකොට එයා එනකොට අපේ දුව නැහැ. එතන ඉඳලා නැහැ.
we searched all the dead bodies in hospitals, and police and the army also helped us to find the bodies. So that's why we didn't see her body. That's why I believe that she may be still alive.
Although many did not speak, their expressions spoke of grief that time has failed to erase. Some came here to seek closure, and others still seeking for their loved ones. Zulfik Farzan, Newsfirst, Paralia.
Official government data shows an 8.7% increase in foreign remittances from Sri Lankan expatriates in the first 10 months of the year. Foreign remittances from Sri Lankan workers abroad is one of the primary sources of vital foreign exchange for Sri Lanka. These workers contributed $5.236 billion in foreign exchange to the Sri Lankan economy from January to October 2013 and 5.69 billion rupees in the same time frame this year. Close to 1.7 million Sri Lankan citizens are currently working abroad in various countries around the globe. About 1.2 million are employed in the Middle East.
Brendan McCullum joined the cricket record books today with the fastest test century scored by a New Zealander. Day one of the first test of Sri Lanka's tour of New Zealand worked off today before a sellout crowd. Batting first, New Zealand were on 429 for the loss of 7 wickets at stumps.
This is incidentally also the first test match being played at the Hagley Oval. Spinner Tharindu Kaushal earned his first test cap for Sri Lanka today. Batting first, New Zealand got off to a composed start. Captain Brendan McCullum and Kane Williamson brought out the fireworks with a 126-run stand for the 4th wicket. McCullum, who scored his 11th test century, went on to score 195 runs off 134 deliveries. McCullum and James Neesham put on 153 runs for the 5th wicket. Neesham scored 85 runs and notched up his 3rd test half-century. Sri Lankan skipper Angelo Matthews ended with figures of 2 for 34.
The Boxing Day tsunami, as it is infamously known, took hundreds of thousands of lives in South and Southeast Asia.
Today, 10 years later, the rest of the world too mourns with us.
We leave you tonight with some of the memorials that were held in the other countries that fell victim to this tragedy. Good night and good luck.